end of the video, you should be able to build your own heavy-duty hedge door, access hedge door. I'm Jelle.
And I'm Patrick.
Together we are JP Adventures 19. The first step is you have to know the measurements of your hedge and leave a gap on each side. Our gap will be a few millimeters, not too big. And then we cut out the steel frame for the hedge door and the sheet in the right size. And don't forget that within the gap you have to fit the trim as well. And so don't forget about that. And now I'll show you how we
made it super fancy.
Yeah. So we went for a very complicated process. The hinges get shifted a bit inside, so the gap where the hinges are is not 8 millimeters, but let's say 4 millimeters or 5 instead. And it's just something to make it even more complicated. You don't have to do that. We just like it more when the gap is not too big. So I'll show you how that works. And of course it's raining again. Ah, here we go. So I've done the first one already. I'm not sure you can see it because it's scraped in there. So it's here, it goes around here and up there. And I did the same on the other side, obviously, because we'll have to cut it out with an angle grinder and a cutting disc. So we went 9 millimeters down and obviously across, and it's a bit bigger than the actual hinge we will use. So let's do the other side. And now Patrick's gonna cut it out. We usually clamp it onto this table so it doesn't move around and it's a bit safer. And we're just using a normal angle grinder. And so the edges are quite sharp, and then we're always using a file. And our next step is that we are gonna weld in a 5 millimeter steel plate, so it's further inside than the outside of the steel bar. And this is how we do it. So this is the steel plate that we're gonna weld in, and this is a 4 millimeter steel plate underneath, so that it has the same gap everywhere. Because if you have hinges, they should be in the same position, otherwise you might struggle opening and closing your hatch. So we're gonna weld this in, and then we will do the other side. Now this is only spot welded on, and Patrick will actually weld it on completely and grind it down afterwards. And make sure you're actually welding on a flat surface, because otherwise the SHS might bend and then it's not much fun. We've experienced that before.
It'll bend anyway.
Alright, it's all welded on, and so now it's grinding time. So right now we are actually using a really good grinding disc from Prime, Patrick's favorite store, and it's a 3M disc, and it is $10, but it lasts so much longer than any other grinding disc, so it's definitely worth spending 10
We've
bucks.
been grinding with this for probably 2 weeks already, and it's still like a normal grinding disc we use up in about 3 days.
Probably less. So this flat bar is replacing the trim and the sheet, metal sheet, and a bit of a gap as well.
Yep. So this is 5 mil, and we have 2 mil sheet and 1.2 mil trim.
So we still have a gap, a tiny one. And then we just place the hinge where we want it to be, and we mark the holes. Make sure it's straight, very important. So we scraped, or however you want to call it, the holes of the hinges on here, so we know exactly where they will be. And now Patrick's getting this center punch, and we'll punch right in the middle of this little circle, so we can drill the hole pretty accurate. And it is very good if you have a drill press, it makes things a lot easier. We are using a 5mm drill. And now we are cutting a thread into the holes, and we are using cutting fluid for this. And it's actually not too hard, it works quite well. And the thing is, we are using bolts and not normal screws because they're a lot harder, and we tried with a screw and it actually broke because it's quite thick metal. And the thread works pretty good.
So before you start, always put a bit of cutting fluid on your thread cutter as well. And then obviously just turn it, make sure it's perpendicular. Start by putting pressure on it so it actually starts cutting a thread in. And then turn, and if it starts to jam, don't keep turning or else you'll break it off. Just turn it back a bit, half a rotation, full rotation, and then keep going. Some people say go half a rotation and then go back a full rotation, but if you do that, you'll be there for 3 years. So I just do it when it jams. And to prevent jamming, also between each time you cut a thread, just wipe off all the debris on the cutter. So just when it comes out, you'll see all this stuff. Just wipe it off with a rag, and that'll also help you prevent jamming.
Here you can see the thread a bit. We've done 2, just 6 more to come. Now we have clamped all the parts of the frame together, all 4 sides, and Patrick's gonna spot weld it like always, and then weld it properly and grind it down. It's always the same process. And in the meantime, I will take the sheet, and because it's rusty, I will actually rust convert it and then wipe it down with some turps, so we can weld the frame onto the sheet and there's no more rust underneath. So the frame and the sheet are ready to go. Now we'll put some glue on, clamp it, and weld it together. get the welding done. We'll do a few seams. Running back there, and I'll cut the first trim, or the first edge of the trim. So we cut all the trims, look at this, they will go around there, and we'll make the edges a bit nicer because there's some loose metal, and then weld them together so they fit perfectly, but then we'll take them off because we'll paint them separately. Now welding the trims just together, not onto the frame. It's the same like always. Welding the trims together, grind them down, make them nice and smooth so you can't tell. So our next step is that we'll cut out the trim a little bit where the hinges will go. So right here and the other one as well. Easy, it's a quick thing. So let's go. Look at this space for our hinges. We held the hatch into this axis in here, and it was a bit tricky to get to the hinges and draw where we have to drill in the holes for the hinges. We've managed to do it somehow. We clamped the hinges and opened and closed, and yeah, so we thought this would be right. And now we're center punching the holes before we drill them. So we're drilling the holes for the hinges, and I'm holding his head while he's drilling.
Oh,
Tough job. We got a new system going. Patrick's pushing from the bottom and checking that it's in the right position, and I'm helping him by grabbing the drill from the top and pulling it towards me. So we'll show you. Now it's the same like before. We're just using the thread cutter and cutting the threads in all the holes. And then we'll test mount the hatch, and hopefully we measured right. Because you never know, it's like the moment of truth. Patrick is scared.
yeah, maybe.
Me too. That's the moment. Patrick will shut the hatch. We one screw didn't go in, so the hole didn't line up with the hinge. But all the others are tightened, and now we'll see if it's actually flush on the outside, because we had to guess.
Moment of truth.
Oh, Patrick.
Ready?
Woo!
Yes, it fits.
Looking good.
Nice.
Oh, what a relief. Now we just have to think about this one hole, what we're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
We have daylight again, so the images should be a lot better. And we just clamped a steel angle onto all the sides. It's like the size of the hatch. And as you can see here, that's the angle. I think it is 20 by 20 or 25 by 25. And then we will actually spot weld it together on all four corners, take it out, weld it together completely, grind it down. And then we'll put it back in, but with a door seal. A small door seal, as you can see here. And then, like here, we'll close the hatch and see how far inside we have to do it. Therefore, we have to cut out where we're gonna put the drop T handle lock, which we had to modify, but we'll show you later. And then we'll see if it all works out. It was a bit of a pain here, so we hope that it's gonna be a lot easier with this one. Alright, this is welded and grinded, and now we will push on the seal.
Pinch weld.
Pinch weld, it looks like this. It's the small version of it. And we ordered it from Truck Hardware because we could order it by the meter, and it was by far the cheapest option. So now we'll put it on. So we put it all around where it is coming together. That's at the bottom of the hatch. And now we're just cutting it with a little saw, hand saw. You have to be lucky, like you have to get in between those metal bits that you can actually cut it. Den Finger aufpackst. Den Finger drunter. Here we go.
You don't want to cut into one of these like we just did. Yelle is marking the spot we have to cut out for the drop T handle lock. And for that we're just using the seal, the rubber seal that comes with it, and measuring a bit from our old hole, learning from experience. How's it going, Yelle?
Medium.
She's a bit frustrated, something isn't working.
Alright, I managed to draw the lines on here, and Patrick's gonna cut it out. Have fun!
What does it look like, Yelle?
We'll see. Let's try. Very good.
Perfect.
So much better than the other one. So now we can put the hatch back in. So we will screw the hinges into into the frame again. And then we'll hold this lock into place, push the whole hatch in, and push from the inside the angle with the seal, so we know exactly where we need to weld this on. And then we'll spot weld it and try if it all works again. And now we'll try if it all works out and if it closes completely. Right, at the top it's perfect, like it has to get under the seal. It's a bit different than at the bottom. At the bottom it like squishes the seal more, but the hatch sticks out a bit on the outside, so that's why we only spot welded it on. We have to grind off this little spot and then pull it further into the box, spot weld it again and try again, and then it should work. Alright, our next attempt.
I would say.
Is it flush?
That's pretty good.
Look at this. Oh yes. Very good.